Professional football in America is a special game. A unique game. Played nowhere else on earth. It is a rare game. The men who play it make it so, make it so, make it so, make it so.
WestOne Radio!
It's time! It's time from the Dago Dungeon. That's right, Murph bringing it 110%. Woo!
Why should we even be interested in what you have to say?
Shut up, Sonny. How many times am I going to yell at you in this segment?
I don't give a fuck. You run a thin league and you're all bad.
It's not Sunday no more. You can cuss.
And I'm not your bro. I'm not. Don't ever call me your bro. I'm never gonna be bros. I'm not your bro.
What did you do, stupid? You didn't push the right button. I see this guy on Facebook tripping with K-Mad, tripping with West. They're talking, they're joking. Okay, he's not a bad guy. Come on!
Welcome to the show, Alan, Execution Double 9.
I'm not fat, I'm big bone.
What's that, he's fat?
What's up, Alan? You rocked me. That was embarrassing. I was texting Josh the whole time. What, was he going to give you pointers?
Hey, baby! We're going to be here all day, baby! I like this kind of party!
Welcome once again to WestOne Radio. I am your host, Murph, the Raider Gamer, owner of the fabulous Oakland Raiders in our WestOne Madden 15 Football League. Thanks for tuning in tonight. You can reach me at the Raider Gamer on Twitter, Facebook, the Raider Gamer, Twitch, just the Raider Gamer. So thanks again for for tuning in and joining us tonight. For guys that are out there listening and that are in our league, man, I would highly encourage you to participate in tonight's show. We're going to be bringing it tonight. This show's going to be hotter than too many cooks. I mean, it's going to go nuts tonight, and we need and want and would look forward to your participation. A lot of stuff going on in the league, a lot of cool stuff going on in the real life NFL, but mainly here the past couple of weeks in our league has been bananas with of course, we had the playoffs and then the Super Bowl and free agency and the draft, and now we're kicked off into week one. So we have lots and lots to talk about. So we'd love to have your participation. Yeah, it's fun to for me and Alan to get on here and just, blabber and all that stuff, but much like the football league wouldn't be very much fun with only 3 guys in it. It also this show is better when we have more than just 3 guys participating. So call in tonight, send Alan your phone number, and then he will shoot it to me, and then I'll call you here on the Google Hangout. So hopefully we can get you guys in here. All right, so speaking of my co-host Alan, Thanksgiving's just right around the corner. In fact, it's tomorrow. So happy Thanksgiving and happy Turkey Day to you guys. And if there's any gals listening in, or maybe some wives listening. But anyway, so happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And, Thanksgiving, the meal revolves around the turkey, right? The meal revolves on maybe the ham, maybe some controversy there, ham, turkey. But really, turkey, that's the most celebrated meat on Thanksgiving, right? Well, that's fine. Turkey's great, but you can't just have turkey. You got to have something to go along with the turkey. It doesn't matter how good, moist that turkey may be, how spicy or maybe you deep fry it. There are all kinds of ways to do turkeys nowadays. But that turkey isn't going to be anything if you don't have the fixins. You got to have the fixins. Here in the South, they call them the fixins. Growing up in California, they didn't refer to them as fixins. It was like side dishes. But here it's the fixins, man. You got the cooked down green beans. You got the stuffing. You got deviled eggs. You got mashed potatoes. You got all the casseroles. You got all the fixins. And so on WestOne Radio, I can't just be the turkey. I got to have some fixins to go along with it. So welcome in tonight, my fixins. the Madden gangster himself, Auden.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Welcome into WestOne Radio, tonight's Fixins.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Thank you for that warm welcome, Josh. It's a pleasure to be here on WestOne Survivor Revis Island Edition here tonight, our special free agency and draft special here on a Wednesday night. A couple apologies I'd like to make to the league and all of our listeners early in this show is forgive me if my voice isn't all there tonight. You know, it's a weeknight, so I'm off work from hanging out with all the children's today and having to raise my voice sometimes because, you know, just like in our Madden league, you know, we have our Normans and our K-Mats and our Audens who don't always behave very well, and sometimes the commissioner or the co-commissioner or even a Justin Tsai has to come in and say, now, then, well, that's what I do for my job. And also if I cough a little bit, forgive me, I'm in the frigid tundra that is San Jose, California right now. And it's a very chilly 60-something degrees outside. So it's a little cold by California standards
right now. People are wearing pants.
Exactly, right? But I do have to bring up one thing about your little introduction you made, Josh. You're talking about 3 people doing this show. I count you. And I count me. Is that a fat joke? Are you calling me 2 people, Josh?
Well, your belly does have its own zip code. I'm just going to say that. No, I'm not making a fat joke. I just mean in regular participants, and we typically will have K-Matt or we'll have Salty or we'll have Norman or one of the guys will grace us on the show. And so typically we don't get a plethora of guests. And I think tonight, out of all the nights, if we're going to get guests calling in, this is the night to do it. So again, if you guys, if you want to be a part of it, excuse me, and Cy also participates once in a while. Guys, if you want to participate, shoot Alan your number. I wish there was a way for you to call in. There's an app on the Google Hangout to where we can set it up to where you can call in, but it's been broken since we've been doing the show. That app hasn't worked correctly. So the day that app starts working correctly, we'll be able to shoot you guys a number and then you can just call in. And ideally that's what you want. But since that doesn't work, I got to call you. So text Alan your number. Alan will forward me the text and then I'll give you a call.
I do have Facebook up for everyone wondering right now. I do have my Facebook up, so you can send me a Facebook direct message. I'll get it instantly. I'll shoot Josh the message with the number and who you are. So if you send me the message, let me know who your gamer tag is and what team you're the owner of, because, I mean, we pretty much know who everyone is at this point in terms of matching names to teams, but it just makes it easier, expedites it. You can text me also if you already have my number, let's go ahead and look at the Facebook DM. That's probably the quickest, easiest way to get a hold of me right now. And I agree with you, Josh. I think this is a great night for our owners to call in. We do have some results to go over as we look back at this last postseason, but we don't have 2 weeks worth of regular season games to run through, so we have more time, less analysis, and more about looking forward and editorializing and opinionating. And I think this is a great time when everything is pure speculation at this point. Who were your big free agency acquisitions? Who did you lose that you were sad to see go? How do you feel about your draft? How do you feel about the upcoming season? Is Josh Norman going to win the division? Is K-Matt going to, hold on?
Again.
Is K-Matt going to continue to dominate the AFC South? Is Sim Cotty going to get it together and not lose a playoff game?
Don't give away all the show content here, Alan. Hit the brakes, buddy. Hit the brakes.
I'm sorry. I'm just excited.
I'm excited.
This league has turned me into a Madden junkie. I can remember a time when I was about ready to boycott Madden and EA Sports because I was such a 2K fanboy, and now here I am. I bought an entire Xbox One solely for the purposes of this league, and Madden NFL football. So this league has changed my mindset on Madden. So I'm a little bit overexcited.
Well, it absolutely adds a completely different dynamic to the gameplay. You know, at one point I was strictly an online player only. When Salty brought up the idea of these Madden leagues, and he was really doing a lot of research on it. And after being involved in it now 3+ years and 17 seasons or whatever we were into it, it is absolutely the only way to me to play Madden. I don't play online anymore. I play a little bit of Ultimate Team, but it's too fun, man. It's too fun. So anyways, all right, well, good deal. Well, Alan, thanks for joining us here tonight in the Dago Dungeon South. And Alan, I mentioned that it's Thanksgiving. And so before we get into the really the minutia of the league, I'm going to take this moment just to tell you what I'm thankful for. Of course, in real life, I'm thankful for many things, church and children and a beautiful wife, and there's lots and lots of things in real life I'm thankful for. But being that this is a show about football, and I am the Raider gamer, I'm tonight, and have been since last Thursday, thankful that the Oakland Raiders finally won a football game. They went from losing 10 straight to picking off the Kansas City Chiefs on prime time on the NFL Network. Alan, whether you're a Raider fan, whatever, if you're a football fan, that was a fun game to watch. It's been a drought, dude. No pun intended with the rain, but it's been a long time since us Raider fans had something to root for. But even as just a football fan as a whole, that was a fun game to watch. The environment was spectacular with all the rain. You got young players doing amazing things. Then you got the old man, Charles Woodson, 24, going nuts. First player ever, 50 interceptions, 20 sacks. He won the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. I always rock my 24 jersey with pride since he's came back, and I often get the comment, hey, I like your throwback. Well, it's not a throwback. It's a Puma from the first time around. But it was just a great time to be an Oakland Raider fan. So, of course, in honor of the Oakland Raiders and that awesome night on primetime TV, they may not win another game from here out, but as of right now, as of tonight, the Raiders are on a winning streak, and I want to celebrate it.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
Yeah, baby! You know what I'm talking about, Alan. How about them Oakland Raiders?
Josh, can I say something that's probably going to shock at least 2 listeners and 1 co-host? Yes. I'm not here to steal your Oakland Raider thunder tonight. I did watch that game, and I will never be mistaken for a Raider fan in my life. And I was hoping for 0-16 because I think that, having a team that's that big of a train wreck is always fun for sports. And as a Niner fan, I am an Alex Smith guy, so I didn't want him to be the guy to be the one in 1-15. But that was a very nice. Looking at it from a football fan perspective, that was a very fun game to watch. I think that as a Raider fan, Derek Carr, he didn't have a stellar game statistically, but he had the drive when he needed to have it. And I think any football fan of any team would be happy with their guy getting it done when it counts instead of throwing for 400 yards and a loss. That was a real nice looking. I think I only got to see like the second half of the game because I was working when the game started and such. But that was a very good second half to withstand Alex Smith and Jamal Charles and that comeback that the Chiefs made, and for Derek Carr to stand in there like a pro and win that game for him, that was pretty cool. I have to admit it. I'm not a Raider fan, never be mistaken for one in my life, but that was a pretty cool moment there.
It was. Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a very fun game to watch, watching the guys fly around the way they did. And just to put a pin in it, it was the most critical play of the game, the most criticized play of the game afterwards, but my favorite play of the game was on there was 28 seconds left or something like that on third down, and C.O. Moore gets back there and wraps up Alex Smith. Khalil Mack comes in and finishes him off for the sack, and they run 20 yards downfield into the backfield and start celebrating a highly choreographed high five and dance and stuff, which was really funny. But they were so far away that thankfully Justin Tuck, probably the only play he's made all year long, was recognizing that it was getting ready to be a penalty and called timeout. So that allowed them to reset, and then of course they stopped him. Then on fourth down, Raiders win the game. So that was really funny, and I'm laughing. I'm not even like going, "What are you guys doing?" I'm laughing, and then C.O. Moore, after the game was over, when asked about, hey, look, when you get into that position, you got to act like you've been there before. And his response was, "Yeah, but I haven't been there before."
Okay, that's a pretty good response. I didn't hear that.
It's pretty funny.
I do have to ask one question for you. I know we're live right now with tens and tens of listeners, but I have to ask one
40.
favor of you.
Yeah.
That's 10, dozens of listeners.
We're up to dozens. I love it. Go ahead.
When we post this on the YouTube, can you edit all that out that I just said about the Raiders? Because I don't want to be known as someone who complimented the Raiders. I don't want you digging that up in 5 years and throwing that back in my face 5 years down the line at Christmas dinner.
I'm going to snip that audio out, and I'm going to put it up there with a picture of you in a Raider jersey after an ill-advised bet that you made one time. All right, Alan, so let's...
You never made those ill-advised bets yourself, brother.
Well, that's true, too. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk a little WestOne Madden Football League. Alan, I had these delusions of grandeur for tonight's show. I wanted to do a big, epic Season 1 rundown, kind of a wrap-up show, talk a lot about the divisions, how they played out, the playoffs, how they played out, obviously the Super Bowl. But in going back and looking, Madden Daddy doesn't track any stats from the previous season once you advance. You can't get them on the Connected Careers website. You can't get them on the box. So while I remember a lot of what happened during the course of the year, outside of my own team and really some of the teams that are directly related to the Raiders, I didn't remember like a whole overall. And then also missing the playoffs, I didn't really have a full understanding of how each one of those games broke down. So I regret to say I don't have any hard stats when it comes to playoff figures. And so I apologize for that. And I was really looking forward to maybe getting a little more detailed. But that said, I would like to cover what happened in the postseason. I think that there are a few things that even without those hard numbers that we could really look at a few things that kind of jumped out throughout the course of this postseason. So, Alan, let's go ahead and run down what happened in the NFC to start with. In round one, we had the 49ers taking on the Detroit Lions, and the Saints took on the Dallas Cowboys. If I remember correctly, you made pretty quick work of Ostie and the Lions, which was a little surprising to me considering the fact that he's got one of the more potent offenses, especially with his quarterback and the receiver in Megatron. I'm shocked that he's trying to trade Stafford. But we'll get into that later. But anyways, you beat them pretty handily, and then the Saints come up big and beat the Cowboys. And the Saints, one of the bigger surprises throughout the course of our year this year. The Saints historically have struggled in our league, but they've really turned a corner here in Madden 15 in Season 1, and they made the playoffs, and then they ran up the Dallas Cowboys in the first round. So First round, we had the Niners defeating the Lions, and the Saints beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, and, I mentioned on WestOne Radio a few weeks ago that the Saints were going to get into the playoffs and they were going to ruin someone's season. And they did just that. That's probably the biggest upset we had in the playoffs this past year. But, it doesn't surprise me, honestly. The Saints this year are a very, 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 very strong team. They are explosive, and I think they can beat anyone in the league, and they did just that in the playoffs. And as far as my matchup against the Lions, I will say, despite my toughest efforts, Calvin Johnson cannot be stopped. He still went off for over 200 yards receiving. Had one touchdown, I think. I don't think he got up to two, but I know he had one touchdown for sure. And he went off for over 200 yards against me. So despite my best efforts, Calvin Johnson simply could not be contained. Just to my benefit, that was literally the entirety of Detroit's offense was Calvin Johnson. I think that the rest of the offense combined for less than maybe 50 yards or something. So the Detroit right now, I like that team. They did a lot this year, made the playoffs, but they're still kind of a one-trick pony right now. They're going to have to find some new weapons and something new in that offense. And I'm not sure if trading Stafford's the right idea to go about that. You already got yourself a franchise-level quarterback, and you want to get rid of that and start over? I mean, I guess Tavares Jackson's on the free agent market if you want to go that route. But I'd stick with Stafford.
All right, next up in the second round of the NFC, we had the two bye-week teams, the two best teams in the NFC. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks and those rise up, pesky Atlanta Falcons. Man, Salty has got the Falcons rolling this year. He took on the aforementioned Saints and knocked them out of the second round to move on, as did the Seattle Seahawks. You took on Preston and those Hawks. Preston's done a great job with that team this year. He also has been rolling. His defense is tough. He takes out the Niners in the second round to move on for an NFC championship consisting of the Falcons and the Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that one. No, jokes aside, that was, I came in a mix of cocky and nervous, and I didn't know which one to be, so I ended up being both of them. And you made a point about how I'll 10-cup the offense 10 times to get it right once. Yeah. And that's kind of what I did. That's kind of not what I did. But either way, Preston did what he had to do to get in my head and rattle me and shake me out of my game plan, and ended up dominating that game. And so as much as it hurt me to lose that game to the team that I lost it to, congratulations, Preston. You showed yourself that you were the king of the NFC West for the first year of our league. So you got the throne right now going into the second season. Congratulations, Preston. That was a really good win. So we talked about the Falcons all year long, and they did get past the Saints. I don't recall what the score of that one was, but that one didn't surprise me. I know that the Saints are a good team that can beat anyone in this league, I feel like, right now, but I still think that they have to become a little more consistent to take that next step into competing for the conference, competing for a Super Bowl. But they're on the right path for sure, and it's fun to see some new blood get into the playoffs.
All right, so in the NFC Championship game, we had the Atlanta Falcons take on the Seattle Seahawks, and there's one way to slow down a good offense, and that's obviously to keep the ball out of their hands. There's also, if you could grind up a defense with a running game, that's typically the way that you're going to stop somebody that can be dominant defensively. And when you look at the secondary of the Seattle Seahawks and you look at the weapons that are available to Preston in that Seahawks defense, you got to be able to control the ball and you got to be able to run it. And that's exactly what Salty did. He's done it all year long. He's got Jacquizz Rodgers attributes up through the roof. And most importantly, that 99 trucking. Salty's already a good runner with the football. Now you give him somebody that that's a talented player as well, much like what we'll talk about when we get into the AFC. When you couple those two things together, it's a tall order to get off the field on defense. And if that's your upper hand, if that's your advantage in the game is your defense, and you can't utilize them effectively to get off the field, then it's just too tall of an order. And so it proved to be that for Preston, taking on those Falcons. I don't see him slowing down going into this next season. But anyway, we'll get into that more later as well. But so congratulations to Salty for making the Super Bowl as the Falcons defeat the Seahawks.
Well, and that run game was just redonkulous in that NFC Championship game. I was watching that game, and it seemed every time Rodgers handed the ball off, he was spurting 6 yards up from the line of scrimmage before the defenders even knew what happened. The Seahawks had a great run this year. Preston's a great owner, but I feel like the NFC Championship game was one of those where one guy's been there before, the other one hasn't, and that showed in the NFC Championship. We had the veteran who's already had a couple championships, and he knew what to do to finish the game off. And Preston needs to take that next step before he can get this to the Super Bowl himself. So like the Saints, he's on the right track to do it and a lot further along.
All right, moving into the AFC, surprisingly, the Chiefs were not a top team to get that first-round bye week, and that's mainly just because Scotty joined us late, and frankly, there's a lot of talent in the AFC, if I don't say so myself. So in the first round, the Chiefs took on the Denver Broncos, and it wasn't even close. I don't recall the final score, but it was a lot to a little. And Simcotti moves on fairly easily against those Denver Broncos. Here's a couple of surprises. You mentioned it earlier. It's nice to see some fresh blood in the playoffs. The superior one, former owner of the San Diego Chargers, moves over to New York and takes the New York Jets, finds his way into the playoffs, as does the Baltimore Ravens. And so they met up in the first round, and the Jets won this game and defeat the Ravens to move on to the second round. So congratulations to, obviously, Simcotti and the superior one.
Well, you say you didn't know the final score of the Chiefs and the Broncos. I do, and it wasn't a lot to a little. It was a truckload ton to nothing. 56-0 was the final score in that game. And we all know how good Simcotti is, and he's a great coach that has had tons and tons of success in this league. But I expect more out of the Denver Broncos. They were my early pick to win the division. They were an early pick to be a Super Bowl contender, and they come out in the playoffs and lay an egg. Whew, that one I wasn't necessarily expecting the Broncos to win that game, but to put up a little bit of a fight and show up on the field. Sorry, Chris, but that one was pretty bad.
Well, it's because they don't have any players in Denver. That's why.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. And we have the Jets hit list 2014 made its way to the playoffs and advanced to the second round. And like you said, that was some new talent in the AFC playoffs. I do not believe that they had any playoff experience last year with the San Diego Chargers. So congratulations to the Jets. Jets hit list 2014 was a nice little story to follow in West 1 Season 1. And it was nice to see it continue into the postseason a little bit.
All right, so going into the second round, we had the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Indianapolis Colts. No one circled. No, that's not it. The Indianapolis Colts, the neckbeard, took on Jamal Charles and Alex Smith. Who's his quarterback? Tyler Bray? I don't even know who Scotty uses.
Joe Webb.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I knew it was somebody I couldn't remember. So Joe Webb and Jamal Charles demolish the Indianapolis Colts. Another first-round exit for K-Matt. K-Matt, I'm not talking junk. I'm just saying another first-round exit for K-Matt. K-Mat's had trouble getting deep into the playoffs. He's just like Peyton Manning. Balls out in the regular season, then balls in, I don't know, in the postseason. So K-Mat found a quick exit when he took on Simcotti and the Kansas City Chiefs. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And they took on their AFC East rival, the New York Jets. And, man, all year long, you knew it was going to be Justin and Scotty coming down to it in the AFC Championship. I don't think anybody, aside from maybe the guys that were playing against them, thought that it was going to end up otherwise. So congratulations to both those guys. Congratulations to Justin, which we're going to have Justin on the show here in just a minute when we get done with the rundown. Justin will be calling you. So congratulations to him for moving in to the AFC Championship game to take on Simcotti.
Yeah, and we were calling it for a while. I think that AFC Championship between the Bills and the Chiefs that was just inevitable was going to be the Super Bowl, as we very well know it was. Right, Josh?
Shut up, Alan. You don't know what you're talking about. Well,
so we got a couple championships to go into.
Yeah, okay, I got you, NFC pride. All right, so moving on, we had the Buffalo Bills take on the Atlanta Falcons. And, Alan, I don't know if you had a chance to watch this game. Man, I love Twitch. I love this ability of the Xbox One to be able to broadcast these games. It's so fun, either playing another game or watching TV and have it going on the iPad, or to have it snapped where you can watch the game, or heck, on the Super Bowl, I had it going full screen, had my popcorn ready, just like I was watching a real-life football game. In fact, going into it, I texted Salty and I said, man, I'm looking more forward to your game than the Raiders game on Thursday. It ended up, obviously, we talked about the Raiders game was pretty darn cool, but man, I look forward to these games. They're fun to watch, and especially when there's something big going on, if it's a divisional game that's going to impact your team, or if it's just two high-profile players in our league, whatever the case may be. It's fun to watch, and this game was fun to watch. The Salty and the Falcons came away with the win as the Falcons beat the Bills, and there's a couple of things that are significant historically that I'd like to cover. That there really was a lot of history that was available to the winner of this game. Justin would have been the first guy to win back-to-back Super Bowls across platforms, which I thought would have been pretty cool, and also with two different teams. So there was a few different things going on for Cy, but for Salty as well. Salty becomes the first player, first owner in WestOne history to win 3 Super Bowls, so that's pretty cool. He won. He's also the first guy to do it with 2 different teams. So the first time he did it was with the Raiders. He won it twice with the Raiders, and then now once with the Falcons. And then he is also the second player, along with Scotty, to win Super Bowls in different versions of Madden. So big kudos to him. So congratulations to Salty for the win. Again, it's kind of setting some records here, and really doesn't look to slow down going into this next season. He's really got a stacked defense now to go along with that running game. He loses Roddy White, or at least loses what Roddy White was. So he'll have to be dependent on the draft to refill that position. I know that he's not entirely happy with Matt Ryan, but heck, Matt Ryan was good enough to get it done for him one year. So unless something drastic happens, not a lot to lend me thinking otherwise that he couldn't make another run with Matt Ryan and that connection with Julio Jones. So anyways, so congratulations to him. Salty's another favorite going into this next season, sets records in this past one. And so major props to the commissioner for winning his 3rd Super Bowl.
Well, and all of that is true. Those were some great storylines going into the Super Bowl. Either way, we were going to have something new But something else that I've noticed, and you can correct me on my WestOne history if I'm wrong, or Salty can on the Facebook page, or if he wants to call in. But I also have noticed a couple things. According to what I am aware of in WestOne history, this is Salty's 4th Super Bowl appearance and his 3rd win. He's the 2nd player or coach or owner to reach the Super Bowl for 4 times. He's the only one to get to 3 because Simcotti lost 2 Super Bowls. Now we look over at Justin Tsai, who's been to 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, but only come away with 1. So it's unless I'm a little bit incorrect on the history there. Maybe Justin didn't get to the Super Bowl that undefeated year. But maybe I'm noticing a little bit more John Elway instead of Tom Brady out of that Justin Tsai's coaching team.
Oh, yeah. No, there's
Well, hang on. Well, we'd like to welcome in to the show Justin Tsai. Thanks for joining us here on WestOne Radio. Justin is the owner of the Buffalo Bills and the owner of all those really excellent achievements that Alan just rattled off, and has been one of the more dominant players in WestOne since joining us in the league. Used to run the Jacksonville Jaguars, did phenomenal things with that terrible team, and has now done great things with the Buffalo Bills. No one except him expected the Buffalo Bills to be what they are talent-wise here in Madden 15, and he's proven it right. And so welcome into the show, Justin Tsai. Congratulations on your season this year. Excellent job, and look forward to seeing what you could do in the upcoming season.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I mean, it ended poorly, but credit to Salty. He definitely deserved that victory, but yeah, it was a solid season. I'm not disappointed. Disappointed at the ending, but overall, I felt the season 1 campaign was up to par.
Is it like real life, Justin? I mean, like a real, when Ricky Bobby, right? It's if you're not first, you're last. When you ask Tom, when you ask Tom Brady, if he's happy with his 5 Super Bowls, I'm sure he's more happy with the 3 that he's won and more pissed that he lost 2. Is that the feeling that you get? I mean, when you're an accomplished player like you are, is it all or nothing for you, or were you just happy to have gotten there again?
No, that's not true. I mean, of course, your expectations vary depending on your past success, but I try to keep things in perspective. Like, if I was not satisfied with anything less than the Super Bowl, then I realize I wouldn't be very happy, and I would be brooding a lot. And I also noticed that when I was really hyper-competitive in the past, I tended to be more of a sore loser, and that is something that I frown upon a lot more now. So I try to put things in perspective, and it's also just a video game. It's not life or death, not too much at stake. And, obviously, if somebody's got to win the freaking Super Bowl, right? I'm not going to cry if I lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a great point that, at the end of it, it is just a video game, and as much circumstances as we, and I don't know. We do a dang radio show, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? It's just a hobby, and you're right. And it's not something to get too worked up about, win or lose. Easy for me to say when you're 7-9, but yeah, that's absolutely. It's good. I'm glad to hear that you keep it in perspective. We're all competitive guys. If we weren't, then we wouldn't do this. So part of you is certainly going to be disappointed no matter what. But I'm glad to hear that you keep it all in perspective. Alan, what do you got for Justin Tsai?
Well, first, I'd ask myself or Josh Norman if this is just a video game, just a hobby. You might get a couple different answers, but yeah, congratulations again on your run, Justin. I mean, I don't think any of us expected any less than to see you in the championship game in the Super Bowl. We've all felt the wrath of Justin's offense. What was it like for you coming in and playing a new team? I know last year you ran the Jaguars and you had all the success you had with them, an undefeated regular season and the Super Bowl win and everything that went along with that. How did it feel jumping into a new team with new talent, new strengths and weaknesses, and a new division, so new opponents all around. Like, how was that adjustment? Well, obviously the adjustment wasn't too bad for you. You went 15-1, but how was that from your perspective?
Oh, I enjoyed it a lot. First and foremost, I was actually able to choose the team. The first season I joined for Madden 25, it was either the Chargers or the Jaguars. I liked the Chargers, but I felt like they were the worst team in the league, so I just went with the Jaguars. But with the Bills, I picked them. They had players I liked. They had Sammy Watkins, E.J. Manuel, solid secondary. And also, I honestly mean it. When I was younger, I think it was all the way back during the Doug Flutie era. Doug Flutie was my favorite player because he just had no business being in the NFL, and somehow, he made things happen. So I did have some Buffalo fan roots. I'm no longer a fan because the team definitely got stale after he left. But I definitely enjoyed being able to choose a team of my choosing, and and having basically the personnel that I wanted set in place. The only hole I felt like I had was tight end, but other than that, I couldn't have drafted a team better myself.
Well, you talk about the history of the franchise. I'm a little older than you are. You referenced the Doug Flutie era. For me, it was the Jim Kelly era, and one of my first football games that I ever went to was actually a Niner game versus the Buffalo Bills back in the heyday when both those teams were great. I don't think we'll ever see the accomplishment that the Buffalo Bills had of making it to 4 straight Super Bowls. You can knock them for not winning, but going there 4 straight times is an amazing accomplishment, and really, they were the class of the AFC for a long time, and it really started to become a storied franchise when you look at the players that were there, and obviously with the coaching staff of Marv Levy and those guys. Just incredible. The comeback win, against the Houston Oilers, the biggest comeback in playoff and I think still NFL history. I mean, the Buffalo Bills were pretty cool. They really ran into a steamroller of the Tennessee Titans during the Music City Miracle, and it hasn't been the same since. That's been a long time ago. That was 1999, 2000, something like that. It's been a long time for the Buffalo Bills. So, but I am glad to hear that you kind of embraced the culture of the team. That's always pretty cool. One of the things we strive for in our league is for guys to have a vested interest in their team, whether that be your favorite team or just a man crush on a player, Patrick Willis, or whatever it may be. I mean, we like to see guys get matched up with teams that they like for whatever reason. So I'm glad to hear that you kind of grabbed onto the Doug Flutie era of the Buffalo Bills history. Let me ask you this: did you see the Football Life of Doug Flutie? That was a fantastic documentary. If you haven't seen it.
Oh no, I have not seen it, but the entire team really has that whole really lovable underdog kind of Rudy feel to it. My favorite play of all time for the Bills actually was during the Super Bowl blowout against the Dallas Cowboys when. Was it Leon Lett tried to dance into the end zone and he was strutting and Don Beebe flew all the way across the field. I think they recounted that, it was one of those like NFL Films documentary, and he was running a go route. So he ran a go route, and then Kelly got sacked. Leon Lett picked it up, and essentially Beebe covered, I think, roughly about 30 yards between him and Leon Lett, and then tackled him right before he covered the end zone. And that kind of tenacity is just inspiring because every year somebody wins the Super Bowl, but it's really rare to see a team exhibit that kind of tenacity even in a losing effort. And that's part of the reason why even though afterwards I moved to Northern California, I definitely have more Northern California roots, which is why I am mainly a 49ers fan. But I've always had a spot in my heart for the Bills.
Go ahead, Alan. I know you got a Niner question ready to fire away with.
No, I don't. This segment's not about the Niners, although I did hear your Patrick Willis reference. No, actually, I like hearing all this stuff that you're talking about the Bills because I'm kind of like Josh and how salty is. I like watching our owners get matched up with teams that is their team, or they have some kind of affinity for. So I like seeing K-Matt running the Colts. I like myself being able to run the Niners, or seeing Josh or Salty, either one get to run the Raiders, or Josh run the Titans because he's, a Titans fan living out there just outside of Nashville and everything. So I like hearing that you actually have an affinity for the Bills going in, because I always kind of wondered about that. Oh, Bills, that's kind of random. But more like on the field stuff, I know I've played against you a few times, both in league and out of league, and I feel that you have a different offensive style of gameplay than a lot of our other owners in our league. And I think that's kind of what sets you apart and what allows you to have the success that you have. And you and I kind of touched upon this the other night when we were having a private discussion over Facebook about some certain things. And, you're the kind of guy, we've always talked in years past that speed kills, but that's not really your game. You don't have your guys running streaks and go routes all the time. You know how to use your guys to get them open in space and then use their strengths to their advantages. Do you have a particular preference in what you look for out of like a quarterback in terms of a strong arm guy versus accuracy, or a speed guy versus a pocket passer, or receivers? You and I specifically talked about receivers, guys that could just go up and get the ball and exploit the physical matchups, or faster guys that can just burn those guys in coverage.
Yeah, so actually the reason why I developed my offensive style is actually because of how hideous my running game is. I've been in Madden leagues for, I think, 5 years now, and I've almost always placed in at least the bottom 5 in every single league. So to compensate for that, I obviously need an exceptional passing game. And the problem with speed receivers is that if somebody you're a bit limited with speed receivers. That may sound strange because you figure, the dude's fast. He can stretch the field. But, if someone's near the speed receiver, then, you can hit stick him, you can hit him, or you can lodge the ball out. The thing with taller receivers, and I don't like super slow receivers, but let's just say a more balanced receiver, is that you can kind of find seams in the zone, or you can kind of hit them right when they're making their break. In other words, you open up every single portion of the football field as a threat, whereas if you're a speed receiver, you need that speed receiver to get separation. So that's the reason why height is so important, because let's say even in this game where height is, I would say, is nerfed, if you want to hit a taller receiver on his break while he's running a post route, you can go in for the user catch, and it's safer because he has a larger catching radius. So he'll not only be able to more likely catch the ball, he'll also be more likely to come down with the ball, because after he is subsequently hit, he's better equipped to absorb such hit and more likely to secure the catch. Whereas if you have a smaller speed receiver and you try to do the same thing, not only do you risk it being picked because he has a smaller catching radius, but also he may get the ball dislodged upon contact. So that's the reason why I prefer more taller possession receivers who have a high agility, which is, I believe, is a very underrated attribute, and who have nice catch in traffic. So obviously, I believe the number one receiver by far is Calvin Johnson. I'll put it this way. I think in your first radio show, you guys were discussing, who's the best receiver in Madden? And you guys said Deshaun Jackson. If I was on the trade committee and someone proposed Deshaun Jackson and Brian Orakpo, one of the best outside linebackers, both for Calvin Johnson, I would reject that immediately, because that is grossly unfair in favor of the person getting Calvin Johnson, because he's just that unbelievably good. But, if you're considering a balanced receiver, I prefer to A.J. Green. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, wow. Those are just some excellent points there, Justin. That's some great stuff there. Yeah, I agree with you. I think at this point now, after being here, we are a season later and however many months since Madden's come out, I think you're absolutely right that Calvin Johnson is the be-all, end-all when it comes to wide receivers. And that speed doesn't matter as much, sliders or not. That speed just doesn't have the same impact because of the change of direction. Also, I feel with the receivers, they're not little flies anymore. They don't just, you know what I mean? They don't just change 90 degrees without having a hitch, without having some, am I making sense? Without a chop step. It's not, they don't just change direction so fast like they used to. When you can't just run a guy like Jacoby Ford on a drag route anymore because he doesn't have that same lateral change of direction. But there's a few things you said that I want to ask about as well. Do you think that you mentioned about throwing ahead of the break, and in games past, it seemed to be, it started to come in a little bit last year. It's very much so this year. And it used to drive me nuts that you just couldn't anticipate the routes like you can now in previous versions of Madden. When you're talking about Madden 10, 11, 12, you couldn't throw ahead of the receiver in the same way because it was almost like you had to wait for an animation to kick in for that player to be moving in the direction of the throw, and it resulted in a lot of interceptions. So the first part of my question is this: do you think that change in not just having a guy being super speed and that route running and that agility, is that now more important because the physics of the game itself has caught up to that? And then the second part of my question is, well, actually, I want to back. I got answer that for me, because I got more even to tag onto that. Is it because the gameplay, the AI of the gameplay, is now caught up to be what we really would like to see as far as timing goes in a receiver?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'm actually extremely pleased with the progress that Madden has been making. I was actually really disappointed. Madden 12. I was really disappointed by Madden 12 way back in the day. I thought that EA was getting lazy. I thought it was the Madden apocalypse. I thought that, maybe I would transition into hockey. Then Madden 13 came out, and that's when you started to see the nerfing of speed more, the relevance of route running and timing, and it's really hit its apex in this past Madden 15. And it's kind of a shame to see that the sales are going down, so maybe this trend won't continue. But I'm really pleased with this Madden 15 so far, and you're absolutely right that it is much more, I guess you can say, organic in trying to hit your receiver on the break. They even have that little feature where the icon will light up once the receiver is looking for the ball, and that's basically your clue to hit him with to basically throw the pass. In previous Maddens, let's say Madden 11, if you misanticipated the break, then you would hit it was like your quarterback wasn't even throwing the route. He would just throw it completely to left field. Yeah, but they've definitely resolved that this year. And speed definitely isn't the only attribute. You got to look at agility. You got to look at acceleration. You got to look at route running. You got to look at catching traffic. You got to look at height. All of these attributes are relevant, and that does not mean speed receivers are worthless. I believe that we're talking about adjusting speed threshold modifiers. That isn't necessary. The only reason why speed is not as relevant is just because the defense does what the defense is supposed to do, and that's a good thing. So I don't think we should mess with that.
Well, and then Alan, I'm going to give you a chance to jump in here. I want to tag on to something Justin just said, though. We're going to talk a little bit about the league issues later, but somebody made it might have been you. Somebody made a great point, I thought, this week on the Facebook page on the speed threshold, is that I was firmly sold on let's increase it, because being a longtime Oakland Raiders player, that was our advantage. That was the thing we did good, is that we were faster than you. It didn't matter what position. It didn't matter if it was offense or defense. We were always going to be faster than you, and I was going to exploit that matchup wherever I could find it and use it. Well, as you said, that ability has declined over the past few years. It's really declined this year, plus the fact that the Raiders don't just have those flat-out fast players anymore since Al Davis passed away, and they don't draft the same way that they used to. So I can't just chuck it up there to Hayward Bay going down the sidelines. So I was all for the change in the speed threshold to get it back to where it felt like it did in the past. But somebody made a great point, and that point was that in the NFL, even when you're talking about the fastest guy versus the slowest guy, it's not that big of a difference. It's really not. And, if you line up, Charles Woodson and, I don't know, AJ Green and have them run a foot race to the 100 yards down the field, AJ Green's going to win, but he's probably not going to win by a lot. He's certainly not going to win by 30 yards. So I thought that was an excellent point. And after hearing that and kind of reflecting on it, I think ultimately that's where I shake out on this thing is that you're right. The speed doesn't need to be messed with because in the NFL, it's not really that big of a difference.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I believe the author of that post was Linden, the Texans owner. And he was correct. I mean, even if you watch the NFL highlights with rocket-armed quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, all of his 50-yard bombs for touchdowns to Jordy Nelson are a product of blown coverages, or not because Jordy Nelson burns the cornerback, but because they do the infamous, Green Bay back shoulder fade. And again, speed is relevant. If you do a cover zero, you motion Jamal Charles out with his 96 speed and whatever, and obviously his route running as well, so he's solely reliant on his speed, and you match him up with a linebacker and you lob it up, he's going to toast the linebacker because it's man coverage. The reason why it's not working is because cornerbacks are playing the appropriate deep blue zones. That's why you don't see speed receivers blowing by 86 corners when they're playing zone, because they're just doing what they're supposed to do, and it happens in real life. You don't see Deshaun Jackson just blowing past guys who are playing their appropriate coverage. Usually he blows past them because he makes them pay for a mistake because he's so freaking fast, and there's a blown coverage, there's an open seam, he catches the ball and he takes it to the house. And that's how it should work. If there's a blown coverage and you have a fast guy, that fast guy is going to make you pay more. So speed is still relevant.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get into this more when we, talk about the league issues and stuff, but for any question that I had about the relevancy of speed with the current speed threshold was answered in my last preseason game when my 96 speed, 94 acceleration rookie wide receiver went off for 175 yards, and that was on 2 catches. Because he, as you mentioned, Justin, you take the deep coverage out of it, I hit that post route, boom, he's gone, because he is faster, and that's where the speed catches up. And we did have a pretty good discussion about it on the Facebook page, and I like where it's at, because that was frustrating in years past when all you had to do was send guys deep because they were faster, and eventually they were going to get past the coverage. And it's not like that now, and it's a little more refreshing to see, except for guys like Calvin Johnson, who obviously should have big stats. It's refreshing to not see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wide receivers with 1,500 plus receiving yards, or hitting 1,000 yards receiving by week 6 or 7 just because they're fast. But to get back to you, Justin, since we are going to be talking about the draft and free agency tonight and everything, you mentioned that the one weakness that you felt you had in the passing game was your tight end. Looks like you may have went ahead and addressed that. You picked up Jermaine Gresham in free agency. How do you feel about your free agency and your draft and your offseason in general? Do you like how your team's stacking up going into this next year?
Oh yeah, I started off extremely excited because I got every single free agent I targeted. Gresham is a really underrated tight end. He has every single attribute I'm looking for. His only deficiency is route running, but that can easily be remedied by a couple of good games. But he has height, he has speed, he has agility, he can get up there, he has a spectacular catch. And so I was quite shocked that no one bid on him. I thought that Scrooge McDuck here with the Oakland Raiders and his huge vault of coins was going to jack him from me, but nope, I got him, so I was happy. And then, I filled out some other holes. I forgot his name already. The ex Ahmad Bradshaw. That's it, Ahmad Bradshaw. He was going to be my fill-in after I traded away Spiller, and I just traded for Arian Foster. And Arian Foster's a good running back, but the main reason why I picked him up is because Arian Foster is my favorite running back in real life. So I'm excited to have him on board. So yeah, I was really excited. I thought I was going to have essentially a Madden Ultimate team, and that I was going to have like pretty much a custom built insane team that I've never had since Madden 11. But then that all fell apart when the realities of real life interfered with Madden, and I missed the draft because of moving. If you guys are wondering, the guy who I was looking at was the strong safety. I forget his name, but he's on the Patriots. He's 6'3". He has 90-plus speed. All his agility, all those kind of stats are 90-plus. And his jumping is insane. He's already the best safety in the game. And he was my target, and I think I would have gotten him. I believe that I would have picked ahead of the Patriots and then remix because I had the Ravens, the Redskins pick. And if I had him, and if I was able to use the rest of my picks the way I wanted to, this would be the best team I've ever had in an online franchise. But alas, I only have a semi-stack team.
Well, you're talking about Zebedee Beacham, I believe.
Yes, that guy. That was the freshest.
Well, you know what? Yes, I agree with you on the front end. No, I disagree with you on the back end. He's got a slow development. He's 90 speed, 91 acceleration, zone coverage of 74, the jump of 89. He's a nice player, and I think size, he's got an advantage there, but a 66 catch, I don't see, nothing really jumps off the screen here at me, other than maybe that size, and then that slow development. I mean, I know you're going to rack up a ton of XP because you win a bunch of games, but I don't know if he was quite the precious, though, that we were all looking for.
Yeah, no, I know he definitely has his deficiencies, but I mean, you're talking to a guy who's starting Tommy Campbell as his number 2 cornerback. Like, you just have the dude, sitting in the zone, and the thing is, if anybody throws near him, he's 6'3", and he has this huge catching radius, and yeah, he's stupid, but the Madden AI is smart enough that, he'll go in the general direction of the ball, so, he'll just be in position. So the anti-Beachum would be Eric Weddle, right? He's small, he's slow, but he's really smart, he hits hard, he's actually a good player. But the problem is, if you have him, matched up against Calvin Johnson, there's nothing you can do. But with Beachum, if you're just in the vicinity and you click on, no matter who you're matched up against, even Calvin Johnson, he can make a play. And he's so huge, he weighs so much, and he has such a high hit power that not only that, you can even force a lot of fumbles. And, you guys always talked about in the past how turnovers are the key. Well, if you have this super fast, hard-hitting giant safety, that one hit-stick fumble he creates in the game is going to probably be the difference in the game.
That's true, and I didn't look at his hit power. Let me see if I can bring that up real quick here. Let's see. Where am I at here? Bear with me. New England Patriots. Let's see. Hang on. This is great radio. Hang on. Let's see. There he is, Beachum. He has, let's see, tackling. Where are we at? Oh, gosh, where are we at?
89 hit power.
Thank you, Alan. Boom. There you go, Justin.
Pretty good hit power. Only a 73 tackle, though, so he's going to be a boom or bust tackler.
Yeah, no, that's true, too. But, I mean, again, he's a safety, so he's kind of like a – yeah, again, 89 hit power isn't insane, but it's pretty insane for a guy of his size and his weight and his position, because he's not a linebacker. He's not going to be hit-sticking running backs or he's mainly going to be hit-sticking like tiny receivers. And, in the words of Josh Norman, I ran over that little man, as he remarked when he tried to run over that cornerback with Aaron Rodgers. Well, with Beachum, you could run over those little men.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, great having you on the show tonight. I won't address the Scrooge McDuck reference there, but I'm trying to be a little more responsible with my money. For something I learned last year, Justin, it was that I'm not going to, because the Raiders, it's really easy to free up $60 million worth of cap room because of all the gutting that they've done in real life. So I learned last year, don't shoot your wad on the first round of free agency. save some because guys will screw up contracts and not sign players. And the second round of free agency, you'll see some big names. So I'm hanging on. So I guess really I am being a Scrooge McDuck because I still have $27 million in cap room that I'm saving. And I'm just waiting for all 31 of you to screw up your finances so that I could swoop in and steal your players. So, but, anyways, Justin, thanks again for joining us on WestOne Radio. You've been a great addition to the league. You got a wealth of knowledge about the game. Obviously, you're a great player, got great Twitch skills, and so thanks for joining us. Good luck going forward in season 2, and excited to see what you're going to do with those Buffalo Bills and Sammy Watkins and Jermaine Gresham and all those pieces you've added here in the offseason. So thanks again for joining us, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Take care.
All right, Alan, we are going to move on here to the next hour of the show. Goodness gracious, we're already an hour and 5 minutes deep, so let's go ahead and get into the second half of the show. Alan, we're going to kick it off with Auden's Audible. Are you ready to go?
Oh, I'm always ready.
I've had a lot of people ask what Omaha mean. It's Omaha is it's a run play, but it could be a pass play or a play action pass, depending on the wind, which way we're going, quarter, and the jerseys that we're wearing. So it varies, really play to play. That's there's your answer to that.
Short ox, Richmond, Florida, Buffalo, 27 double. Easy now, Rambo, 59, ball, get on the ball, Louisville Soul Train, purple, Lunar Raiders.
We got our Razor with 59 action. They put you two guys on these two, basically. 59 Razor.
59 Razor, black 59 Razor. 39 7. Ready, down, put.
Just snap the damn ball.
You know, we didn't do the show this weekend, so I've had a lot longer to think about my Auden's Audibles this week. And I was wondering, what should I do with it this week? You know, should I go in with the typical Auden persona and just talk a whole bunch of trash and throw everyone under the bus and talk about how I'm the greatest and I'm going to come for the Super Bowl this year? Or should I do something different? And you know what? I think I have to do something different this week. I do talk a lot of junk on the Facebook page and on this show, but I also like to be gracious in defeat. And defeat is what happened to me this year. I lost out in the divisional round. I didn't expect to get blown out that early, but I did. But I would like to dedicate this installment of Auden's Audibles to a man we've already talked about earlier tonight, but I think he deserves it on this show, and that is the commish, the Atlanta Falcons coach himself, Salty West. And I would just like to say congratulations on your Super Bowl win. You came into a new team with a new conference, with a talent base that you weren't necessarily enthusiastic about. I know you don't like your quarterback. You've questioned your wide receivers. But you came in and you took on the challenge and you went through and you did it. You came into a new conference. You took over the division. You won your conference. You won your Super Bowl. Not only did you win a Super Bowl, but it's the third one that you've won in our league's history. You're the first 1 to 3. And you beat a pretty darn good owner in the process to do it in Justin Tsai, the man we just talked to. So I just want to say congratulations to you, Salty. Good luck to you going forward this next year, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the playoffs. Hopefully I make it that far to see you again this year.
I gotta ask you something. What are we all here to do? We are all here to do what Falcons do. Look at that! To feed and to fight. What's out? Oh, look out! Do we just get up?
Falcons rise up, Alan, and we are blessed with the presence of the commissioner in the Super Bowl, reigning Super Bowl champion, Salty 222. Welcome to WestOne Radio.
Thank you, Murph. Glad to be on the show, man.
Well, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on your huge win. We just had the aforementioned, not aforementioned. Well, yes, we had Justin Side just previously joined us on the show. Very gracious about your game. We all watched it live on Twitch, and it was a fantastic game between the two of you guys. So, Salty, let me just start off with this. Did you expect, with the team, with the roster that you had on that Atlanta Falcons team, did you expect to make a 100% run to the finish and claim your third Super Bowl championship, your third Lombardi trophy here in WestOne?
First, let me say that I'm glad I played Justin before hearing him speak on the radio, because he just sounds like a really intelligent guy, doesn't he? When he talks about like catching radius and all his verbs and adjectives are like well in place, and he actually describes words, and I just say everything's weird or awesome and stuff. So he just sounds like a really intelligent guy, and I was not expecting to beat him, to be honest with you. But going into the season, I expected to make some kind of a run. I didn't know quite what kind of run I would make. I know I've done it before, but that was a completely different team, and speed was killer, and so Jacoby Ford made a big difference there. But I didn't know how well the Falcons' defense would have played, and I think I got lucky, and the Falcons' defense is actually pretty stacked. And then with a couple of key trades early, getting Mingo and then getting Pouncey as my center, that opened up my inside zone running game, and everything kind of fell into place, man.
Well, you played him fantastic. You know, you're a huge Oregon State Beavers fan in real life, and so obviously you're going to have an affinity for your running back, and Jacquizz Rodgers. I know it took some time to get him leveled up to where you wanted him. I mentioned earlier on the show how good you are at running the football anyways. Did you find that was the key, was getting Quiz up to where he had that 99 trucking and you were able to grind up people like the Seahawks, like what you did to the Bills, and like what you did in the regular season and the NFC South on the way?
Not so much getting his attributes up. Last year, I started to discover the effectiveness of a zone running scheme. Previous to that, I always ran counters or halfback dives or off tackles or powers. But last year, I started messing around with zone runs, and I found that it works just like the NFL, man. It's actually pretty slick. Running a zone run, your offensive line is going to pick up who to block, and it's your job as the running back, as the controller, to figure out which hole opens up, and then you got to hit that hole. So I practiced that a lot last year with Trent Richardson and had a lot of success. So then this year coming in, I remember the first couple of times playing Madden 15, it seemed like every time the running back hit an offensive lineman, he'd fall over and get tackled. So I figured I'd trade Steven Jackson and go with Quiz, not only because I like Quiz, but he's small. He's like 5'6", and so he can fit through these little tiny holes that Steven Jackson wasn't able to. And so I figured I could squeeze some kind of running game with the Falcons. I didn't expect to have such a success with him. I thought I'd have to be pass happy with him. But I was, to my surprise, it worked out really well. And then, EA screwing up the attribute increase there. I mean, I think like by week 4, Quiz had like 15,000 XP points because EA rated him so low. They didn't expect him to have so many yards early on. So that gave him a boost. And then from there, it was just, it was good success.
Oh, Salty, I have to ask, and kind of going back to something that I asked Justin as well, is now, since I've been in the league, this is the third team that I'm aware of that you've run, the Raiders, the Browns, and the Falcons. So same thing I asked to Justin, I'll ask to you too. How did it feel for you making an adjustment to not only, in your case, a new team, but also a new conference, an entirely new slate of competition? Because when you're playing in the AFC last year, you didn't have myself or Preston or Norman or Lanning or any of those other guys, or, even in your own division with Nagel and Browning and all those guys. What was it like for you taking on a new team in a new conference? How was that experience for you?
I enjoyed it, Alan. Last year, I was a big AFC honk, and the AFC was the best conference. And now this year, I'm a big NFC honk, and I think the NFC is the best conference. Not because I'm in it, but because that's the conference I'm in, so I'm going to root for that conference and stuff like that, you know. And honestly, I wanted new blood. The very first season of Madden 12, I was the Falcons. Played one season, then we had to scrap it because me and Josh screwed it up so bad. And then I think I was the Chiefs.
Yes.
Much as I make fun of Josh for being an anti-Raider, I was the Chiefs, but solely because I could play Josh and Chris 2 times a year. So it was more from friendom versus fandom that I was the Chiefs. So I've always been an AFC guy, and then a lot of these guys have always been NFC guys, like Nagel and Lanning and your Allen and Norman. And so I've, had to talk crap from essentially across the country. So now I want to talk crap from inside your own homes. So a lot of it was the new blood, the new challenge, the new experience. And the cool thing about our league is we've had a lot of the same owners for a long time, and a lot of them don't really switch over conferences very much. So there's a lot of guys that I maybe play once every couple of years, but now I'm able to play Patrick Nagel, 2 times a year and stuff, and Tom Browning, I rock 2 times a year, and now we got this new guy Nameless in here. So yeah, it was really fun. I didn't know quite what to expect. I didn't definitely think I was going to have the success I had with the Falcons. So yeah, it was cool.
So we talked to Justin a little bit about why he kind of chose the Bills, and obviously personnel had a lot to do with it, but he did mention that he was kind of a fan of that team when he was younger because of Doug Flutie. You and I have had the luxury of being able to go to a handful of Raider games over the years, and one of them that we attended was on the road in Atlanta when, unfortunately, the Raiders lost a late one, but we got to see the Georgia Dome in full effect. We got to see what it was like to watch a Raider game there and see what that fan base was like, and see how they rallied around that team, and see the whole the pregame and everything, that the atmosphere of an Atlanta Falcons game. Does that at all lend to why you chose that team, aside from getting into the NFC and aside from being a fan of Jacquizz Rodgers? Do you feel any kind of, I don't know, not loyalty, but fandom for the Atlanta Falcons now after seeing them firsthand, and now you're playing them in our league?
Yeah, I definitely think. I think my reasoning was kind of threefold why I picked Atlanta. One, and this is in all honesty the truth, they're a hard team to fill in a Madden league. Nobody really likes Atlanta. It's hard to find a diehard Falcons fan. And I did the same thing with last year with the Browns. I picked the Browns because, again, they're kind of historically a hard team to fill. And I kind of liked Cleveland. Cleveland had a tough mindset and stuff. And Atlanta was kind of, I was debating back and forth because I like kind of that old rugged school kind of mentality when it comes to football. And Atlanta doesn't really have that, Like we went there, walked up and down the streets. We got more harassed at that gay pride parade than we did by any Atlanta Falcons fan and stuff like that, So
yeah, we thought a Niner game broke out.
Yeah. So there definitely wasn't any toughness factor there. But I do like Quiz. So first reason was they're hard to fill. Second reason, I like Quiz. And it's always weird being in your 30s now and stuff and being like, yeah, I'm a fan of a 22-year-old running back. Yeah, he's cool. So I liked Quiz, and I liked his ability and stuff like that. But then also the third reason was, yeah, we did go to the Atlanta game, and I've been there. I've experienced them. I know what their stadium is like. I know what their fan base is like. So every time we're playing a game there and stuff, I'm looking up in the stands and oh yeah, I sat over there or something like that, So there was a little bit of fandom there and stuff like that. And plus, I got Julio Jones, Murph. I've been playing Madden forever with the Raiders, and they've never had anybody quite like Julio Jones. So that guy is just beast. And my only problem is I can't get him the ball enough with stupid Matt Ryan.
Well, I guess that has to lead into my next question then. And are you willing to talk on the air about the future of Matt Ryan? Is he going to be the franchise quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons going forward, or do you have new plans at the quarterback position to run that offense going this year and forward?
The Atlanta Falcons are an interesting team. They have about $90 million tied up with Matt Ryan, and everybody else is on $2 million contracts. So if I were to cut Matt Ryan right now, he would actually cost me an $18 million cap penalty. And he makes $15 million a year in his regular salary. So it's still a negative. So my plan with him is to keep him around for at least one more year. I picked up John Skelton. Everybody loves John Skelton. And picked him up in the free agency.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 317902960.
What the heck was that, boys?
Sorry about that. Sorry, my fault.
Anyway, so I picked up John Skelton in the free agency draft. His throw power is amazing, but everything else kind of sucks about him. So my plan is to dump a lot of XP into Skelton this year, ride Matt Ryan out, see if I can make a run to back-to-back championships, and then probably dump Matt Ryan year 3, so it's not as big as a hit, and then run Skelton 3 and 4. Seasons 3, 4, and 5 probably.
Talk to me a little bit about your draft going in. You've already won a Super Bowl, so you're already going to be a favorite going into next year. We know you lost Roddy White, or not. I hate to say you didn't lose him; he just got nerfed.
Sure.
How do you feel your draft went? Is it enough to supplement what you've lost in this past season and help keep you be a favorite?
Yeah. I'm not worried at all. In fact, I think my team got stronger. I didn't lose anybody, Murph. Nobody retired on me. Going into the season, I played enough Madden leagues now to where I know that you don't want anybody over 25 basically on your team. So I gutted every old person on my team, including Osi Umenyiora, Croy Bierman, or somebody like that on the defense. So all my defensive guys were all 25 and under with like 3 or 4 years experience tops. So my defense is basically going to remain the same throughout this duration of Madden. And I like that because I can craft them the way I want to. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Roddy White lost, I think, 9 speed points, but he's still a stud. And everything Justin Sy talked about receivers applies to Roddy White as well. So I can still use him as a possession receiver. Harry Douglas is 29 years old, and Julio's 26, I believe. So I picked up a couple younger guys as wide receivers, improved my tight ends a bit. My O-line's still the same. So basically nothing's going to change on my starting 22, Nothing changes except Roddy White is going to shift down to the number 3 receiver, and Harry Douglas will shift up to the number 1. So I'm definitely in good position to make another run. The problem, though, Murph, is I don't know if I can take the stress of another Super Bowl run. Did you see me the week of the playoffs? I was yelling at Touchdown Brown. I was yelling at K-Mac. My wife brings me dinner. I'm like, why is my plate turned to the right? The peas are supposed to be on the left, I was freaking nutso and stuff, And then I win this stupid thing, and so it's crazy, right? It's like a 2-month freaking Mortal Kombat tournament where you're climbing the ranks and positioning and all the hours and stuff you put into it and stuff, And then I'm playing Justin in the Super Bowl, and I know how good of an opponent he is, and that game literally was 7-6 until the fourth quarter. That game was intense, Nobody scored a touchdown except the defensive play. And so it's 7-6, so I finally beat him and stuff, and I get the last onside kick, and just this evil spirit, weight, lifted from my shoulders and stuff, And I raced out of my man cave. I'm like, I won the Super Bowl. My wife is just like, oh, that's great. You don't know what just happened.
There was an instant dose of perspective.
It was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah, definitely instant dose of, you're not as cool as you think you are, so shut up.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, awesome. Well, congratulations on winning it all. Congratulations on being the first guy to win 3. I mean, that's a pretty cool accomplishment. Also, the first one to do it with 2 different teams, and then what do we got? We were the second one to do it in different Madden incarnations. So quite a bit of an accomplishment there, Salty, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me on the show, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good rest of the evening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being the commissioner. Thanks for all you do. We know you work hard at keeping this thing going, and we're going to talk to you hopefully Saturday and talk about some of the changes and kick off week 1. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. We'll talk to you then. Thanks for joining us.
All right, take care.
All right, have a good night. Alan, there you have it. There is the commissioner, Salty222, reigning Super Bowl champion. Alan, you think he's going to do it again?
Well, saying I think he's going to do it again implies that I don't think that I'm going to do it, and I can't have that kind of lack of confidence in myself, so I'll just say Salty's as good as anyone to be able to go back and do it again. I know I'm really going out on a limb there that the defending champion has just as good a shot as anyone, but I can't really go out and say something that's going to take myself out of the equation now, can I?
You can, but you didn't. That's okay. Speaking of guys that won't take themselves out of the equation, Alan, we're going to welcome in our next owner, K-Mac, Captain Humility, Captain Voicemail. Thanks for that jarring interruption in an interview with the reigning Super Bowl champion. Welcome into the show, K-Matt D, owner of the Indianapolis Colts. K-Matt, how are you?
Good, gentlemen. How you doing? Sorry about that, Josh. I forgot my Do Not Disturb after midnight Eastern time, so sorry about that.
That's okay. We're glad we got you on the air now. K-Matt, you had, I'm going to say it for you, probably a disappointing season, at least a disappointing postseason with another first-round exit. Tell us how you felt going in to the postseason. You look pretty strong with a really good regular season under your belt. I believe you only lost 2 games. What happened? What happened there early on?
2 stupid plays is what cost me my playoff game. First play offensively, he pick six me. Then I'm kind of in control a little bit. Up by a field goal, driving inside the 10, and I throw another pick when I should have just ran the bearded wonder into the end zone and took a 10-point lead. But I thought I would neck and neck with Scotty. I'm not worried about anybody. The only person I have not played this Madden that, I'm not going to say fearful, but I know that he's got a chance to put a whipping on everybody is Justin with the Bills. So other than that, in the AFC, I think I can go toe-to-toe with anybody else. I just won my week 1 game. Sorry to prelude to your next show, but I feel pretty good. I was disappointed losing the playoffs, but this is the first time in Madden that I've actually traded 4 picks. I usually just trade my picks away because I'm not really interested. But with the new draft class, the way that Madden has it set up, I was pretty interested and intrigued by the draft. So I think I got a couple pretty good in the first round and a couple more backups in the later rounds. But other than that, I feel pretty good.
Well, speaking of the draft and the off-season, Matt, I know it was kind of a big joke that you and I were the 2 people that had bids in on Darren McFadden, and I think you were my only real competition for him. And I know you didn't get him, but how do you feel about how you shook out in the off-season this year? Do you still like what you have at running back with Trent Richardson? Do you feel like you came out of the draft pretty strongly? How do you think you did in free agency this year? How do you feel about your team and your roster going forward into this next year?
We'll start with the draft. Like I said, the 2 first-rounders are pretty good talent. A 6'2" quarterback, 97 speed and acceleration to go along with high 80s coverage in both areas. The only thing you need to get up is a little bit of play recognition and awareness, and that's pretty easy in this Madden to get up. He's already close to 80 now. And then I got a low 90s outside linebacker, low 90s speed outside linebacker. He's got low 70s zone coverage, which is not bad, but I like a little higher, so I'll get that up with his play recognition. But as far as my rookies, I think the biggest deal I found was, and I was shocked because it was a day later, I didn't go into free agency right after the draft, was a 6'3" safety who has high, I think 89 speed. But if you look at his stats, it's like a wide receiver, 80 catching, 70-some trucking, 70 agility, and a zone is in the 70s, and also his development is fast. So he just got a pick to fill my game against the Jets, so I'm pretty happy about that. Free agency, I am so stoked that I did not get any of the high-priced guys. Flowers getting $29 million a year, and I said, congratulations to Josh at $22 million a year. I know it's only 1 year, but and then McCourty got an ungodly amount. So I'm pretty happy I didn't get that. I just re-signed all my guys first week, and everything's re-signed. All my players are re-signed, and I still got $40 million under the cap for next year with 48 players. So if I want to, I'm looking forward to next year to free agency, after whatever we do this year in the regular season. So I feel pretty good about my team. Got some young players, got a lot of cap room. So I get in this playoff thing.
You're not kidding about some of those contracts that got handed out, that's for sure. I mean, I felt the same way seeing what some of those prices were. I think I'm with you, though. I'm glad I didn't get some of those guys.
Yeah, the Revis and Flowers, I mean, it's only 1 year, so I'm sure if they re-sign, it won't be that much. It'll probably come down. But the McCourty, man, well, I think it was 6 years, like $140 million. That is going to cash strap the Jets for a long time, and he's got a few guys he's got to re-sign. So, I mean, props to him for getting him, but he's going to have to maneuver that cap.
Yeah, you got a feeling that guys are overextending themselves a little bit too much early. You know, I talked a little bit to Justin about saving some of that money that the Raiders have. You know, they got it's not hard, as I mentioned already, to get them to $50+ million free in cap room, and I only used half of it. And frankly, it was a shocker to me that I got Revis. I mean, I was all in on McCourty. I was all in on Ben Tate. I was all in on a handful of guys. And then at the end of it, I looked up and I'm like, I still have $20-some-odd million left in room. Let me go ahead and just chuck a big fat contract at Revis and see what happens, because odds are I'm not going to get all these people I bid on. And he was the one I ended up with. So, you know, but that said, I had that, as the Raiders, that luxury of goofy money to play with, that I'm sitting on fat stacks and not a whole lot to spend it on. I got a rookie quarterback who's under contract for 4 years, and he's going to be on the cheap. You know, I mean, that's the one huge advantage that really doesn't go talked about very often in Madden terms when it comes to a franchise. When you look at guys like Russell Wilson, when you look at guys like Andrew Luck, when you look at now Derek Carr, they're not expensive. Now, Andrew Luck's going to be expensive for you soon, but when you get those young guys that are good early, you don't have to spend Matt Ryan money on them, impacting your ability to sign those other players. So it really frees you up. It gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to free agency.
Yeah, you just actually took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking the same thing. The last couple of Maddens, Luck's rookie year and then the second year, I was pretty lucky with his, you know, low cap number, $4 or $5 million a year, and you're going to feel the same thing with Carr, probably this Madden, next Madden, and you'll be able to splurge a little bit. But plus, the Colts don't have any high-priced defensive players, but Mathis, and he'll come off the books after next year. So I just think if you get young, cheap talent that you can build up. Just for example, last year I traded for Terrence Brooks, my safety, and then pick a player named Sanders Cummings as my other safety. Probably no one knows who they are unless it's from Madden, but they're good safeties. I got them for probably all of our franchise, and together they don't make more than $4 million a year. So if you get lucky, you get a young, good player. That's why I think I dipped in when me and you was talking about our trade. All I wanted was a draft pick. Because I don't want no high-priced guy I got to resign.
K-Matt, you proved to be the class year in, year out of the AFC South. Not a lot of guys stepping up to challenge you with the Titans, the Jaguars, or the Houston Texans. I got a feeling, though, the way that those teams are now starting to build, that may change. I mean, you have a former Super Bowl champion in your division in Steve, who runs the Titans, and I know there was some issues with him early on as far as getting the game. He's out of country. He lives in South or Central America, and so there was some issues with that. But now he's got that under wraps. So now he's got a fresh season under his belt. Probably lost some players he didn't care to lose, but I don't anticipate that a guy like that is going to be quiet for long. Not only has he won a Super Bowl in the past, I believe he's been in 2. So anyways, that said, do you feel a little bit of pressure in your division, or do you feel like you're going to run away with it again with another 14-2 run?
I'll just correct you with 15-1, but I won't correct you anymore.
Okay.
And
either one accomplished the same in the postseason.
Exactly. But no, I don't think the Titans. I don't think Steve is. I think he's got a lot of stuff going on away from Madden, so I think kind of take his focus away. Other than that, I think he would give me a lot of competition. my main concern, and I'm not knocking the Texans because they gave me 2 close games last year, but the Jaguars, they came on at the end of the year. Seemed like he was getting to know his team. He added a few parts. Added a lot of defensive line. I looked at his team, so I predicted last year they would make the playoffs, and they just missed out. But I'm telling you, they're going to make some noise in the AFC this year. We don't play till I think week 12 and week 14, so 2 out of 3 weeks that might come down to the division. Like I said, I got bigger guys than just division, but I cannot overlook the other 3 teams because Steve has beaten me in the past. Texans almost got me, twice last year. Jaguars are a lot better than I think people realize who haven't played him.
Well, I think that you definitely have some solid competition in that division. You mentioned the Jaguars, and I think they are for real, and I think they were close to a wild card this past year, and I think they can get it again. And I think Linden's gonna come on a little bit stronger this year too than he did last year. So I think you'll have a little bit more competition. I think in the end you're probably still going to win the division. But you mentioned that in your game against the Chiefs, there was a couple bad mistakes on your part that kind of sealed the game for you. Do you think that knowing that you're ready to get over that hump this year and make a deeper run into the playoffs and maybe even to the Super Bowl? You think that you can get those mistakes corrected and go all the way this year and make a run?
I feel like I can, but I also know myself when I'm going to make 3 or 4 stupid throws in a game, and hopefully the defender drops them or they go out of bounds. I like to get a little stupid and take shots downfield when it's unnecessary. I just threw 3 unnecessary picks in my first game, just stupid throws. So I know I'm going to do something stupid, so 2 things are going to have to happen for me to make a Super Bowl run. Hell freezes over and I don't do that, or my defense steps up and gets me the ball back when I make them turnovers. So I know I'm going to throw a couple interceptions, sadly enough. But like I said, either the defender's got to drop it or my defense has to step up because I've been playing Madden a long time now. I get greedy or I get impatient or I just throw a stupid pass. And that's what's going to lose me games. That's what lost me the game last year to both the Chiefs and the Broncos, and that's what almost lost me the game against the Jets.
Well, absolutely. And, the Superior one is no slouch. You see, you threw 3 interceptions in that game and won by 3. So you were definitely in danger of that having you cost the game. But you did come away with the victory in week 1. So congratulations on that. And look forward to seeing what you're going to do with those Indianapolis Colts and the neckbeard himself going into season 2. K-Matt, thanks for being a part of the league. As always, despite any, what am I trying to say here? Any blustery conditions that may arise once in a while? We do appreciate you being part of the league. You're a great honor.
Like I said, not to bring it up, but that got blown way out of proportion. However, if your boys come here and play and they give us free tickets, my fat butt will be in the seats watching the Raiders at Lucas Oil Stadium.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, and there might even be, I'm telling you what, the Raiders might go back-to-back. What a shocker that would be. We were going to shock it was enough of shocking the world by winning a game in primetime, let alone if we go back-to-back and take out the St. Louis Rams who are struggling right now.
Yeah, I think the NFL really missing out not televising these games. I know with the TV deal and all this stuff, but I think they're really missing out not having a double hitter every Monday. Because that week 1, having an East Coast team at 7 and then a West Coast team at 10:30, that is just a phenomenal schedule. And I don't know if they'll ever go to it, but it should be that way every single week.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Probably be better than the Thursday night games.
Well, except this past Thursday night game.
Thursday night game, I mean, yeah. They're just dumb for the league, and they talk about safety, but you got players playing on Sunday night and then Thursday night. It just, I defend a lot of what the NFL does, but they're talking about both sides of the mouth there. Put that Thursday game on Monday night. Let us have football from 7 o'clock Monday night till midnight if you want to stay up and watch it. It'll be just also actually later than that, probably 1 o'clock in the morning. But if you want to stay up and watch it, that would be awesome. Have one East Coast game, Midwest game, somewhere in there, and then have some Western teams or Dallas, whoever they want to play. I think that would just be awesome for ratings on Monday night.
Well, good deal, K-Matt. Well, thanks again for calling into the show. Appreciate you being a part of the league, and good luck going forward. And we will talk to you maybe even as soon as this Saturday on our next episode of WestOne Radio. Thanks for calling in.
Not a problem, guys. Thank you.
Alan, that is K-Matt D. All right, well, shoot, we are rocking on time here. Love the participation. Thanks. That's what we were hoping for at the top of the show, guys. We're owners calling in, and we've certainly got that tonight. And thankful for everybody joining in. Alan, we got about 4 or 5 more topics still to cover. Let's go ahead and breeze through these before we get too tight on time. Alan, I want to talk a little bit about some of the league issues that go up. Let's talk really in specific to West 1. And there are a couple of things that have come up, and I'm glad that Salty's going to get on with us this Saturday to address some of these. Mainly the one that not mainly, I'm not going to speak for him. One of the things I know he will talk about is the season start. And so just in the interest of banter between the two of us and just a discussion on it, when does the league season start? When does it stop? Historically, it's been defined as after the draft is the beginning of the second season. And the reason why is because if you think about it, when you start playing a new season, you've already had the draft. So when we have our free agent draft, which is created by us, not a game mechanic by EA, when we have our free agent draft, that's the beginning of the season. So to go a full calendar year in Madden League terms, it would be after the rookie draft. So that's why it's always been that way. And there really hasn't ever been much of an issue until we started limiting trades. And now that we limit trades to 3 per season, we had guys, including myself, use up their 3 trades in season 1, and we're looking to make draft moves and to make pick moves prior to the rookie draft. But being that was still in the first season, we weren't able to make that call. So I think the way that the league is heading, and again, this is just my opinion, Salty will clarify all this and give us an official league stance this weekend. But I think the league is heading towards that first season ending after the Super Bowl, and then all subsequent seasons ending as well. So we're kind of chopping off a little bit of that first season, but it's already chopped off for us because the rookie draft happens in real life and then is implemented in the game. So I think that's the way that we're going to go. I'll look forward to hearing what Salty has to say about it coming up, but I think that's where we're going to probably shake out on it. We talked a little bit about the speed threshold. The speed threshold, we really kind of covered it already. The disparity between players in real life are not that big, so we don't feel that there's going to be a need to stretch it out any further. And in fact, Salty put it to a poll earlier this week, and it was voted to keep it where it's at. So we will hang it on that and leave it to where it's at. One last thing I want to touch on as far as league rules goes is that in one of Salty's posts he put "don't stat pad," and I think we all took that as obviously you don't want to run guys run their stats up on the ground, in the air, whatever the case may be. It tends to be tough in a preseason game anyways because you're rotating so many players in and out. But the spirit of it was that don't use this as a time to take advantage of something. Still follow the spirit of the rules much in the way that you would throughout the course of the regular season. Unfortunately, we had a couple of guys not follow that spirit. A couple of guys did some things that were not within the rules of West 1. The defense was, well, it's the preseason. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get some reps for this guy or that guy, going forward on 4th downs in positions where you shouldn't be, up in games on your own side of the field, still going for it, things like that. Guys, remember that now we're a ways away from being in preseason again. But when the next round of preseason comes up, treat those games like you would a regular season game. Same rules apply, same sportsmanship, especially rules apply. So please follow suit there when it comes to that. All right, so we're going to move on from league issues. Wow, we got 2 things left to cover. Alan, we got to keep it brief. Alan, let's talk a little bit about free agency. There was a handful of players that were high profile. I already mentioned how I ended up with Darrelle Revis, 99 overall player, absolute stud, 1-year contract, $22 million. But really the prize of my free agency was Ben Tate. Ben Tate was, I knew that I was going to let Darren McFadden walk, and I needed a guy to come in to replace him, and I found the perfect guy for my system and my style of gameplay. I'm incredibly excited to have Brandon Tate in. Some other big names that moved. Brandon Flowers goes to the Rams for like $29 million. Good luck with that salary cap going forward. Also brings in Jeremy Maclin on a monster contract. Nick Fairley ends up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought that was an excellent addition, especially when you consider the amount of pass rush that Steelers defense is able to generate to begin with. I thought that Fairley was a great fit for that team. So congrats on the Steelers for getting him. McCourty goes to the Jets, another monster signing, monster money, but a monster player. So I'm anxious to see what the Jets are able to do with him. In fact, I'm going to look, Alan, while I get your analysis on free agency, I'm going to look and see what the Jets did with McCourty in their first game against the Colts. Last, we're going to mention him because he's a big name, and Josh Norman lost a very high-profile guy in Jordy Nelson and replaces him with Wes Welker. Wes Welker's older, but he still has the stats. So we'll see if he gets nerfed at all going into this next season. But as of right now, Wes Welker looks to be a good addition to that Packers offense. Alan, what do you think about free agency and how it unfolded?
Well, it was definitely a different experience for me than what I'm used to, and a lot of it boils down to 2 of the names that you mentioned, which was Darrelle Revis and Brandon Flowers. And in the history of this league, I feel like some rather fair contracts are usually handed out in free agency. Obviously, anytime you're in free agency, you're going to overspend. That's the nature of the business. But it usually remains within the realm of realism. And I know I was in the Darrelle Revis sweepstakes, if you want to call it, me in it, that for a brief moment, and I kicked around the tires on Brandon Flowers, and according to what they told me they wanted, I was offering fair contracts, but I noticed my salary meter wasn't up there. Well, now I know why. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, William. So those kind of shots, and Maclin to get almost $10 million a year for his contract. So some of those contracts really, really surprised me this year. But I do think the silver lining with Revis and Flowers is that they're both 1-year deals. So if you got the cap money this year, why not use it? Because it's not going to impact you going forward. At the end of the season, that's $30 and $23 million off the books right there for each team to go right back out and play with in free agency again. So they're huge contracts, but they won't damage the franchises going forward or anything. Personally, I was a little bit disappointed in free agency myself because I was targeting Jeremy Maclin, who ended up with the Rams, and Darius Hayward-Day, who ended up with the Chiefs. I did get your former running back, Darren McFadden. I'd like to thank you for that because I know you say that Darren McFadden's not the same guy as he was a few years ago, but he's always been one of my favorite Madden players, and I think he adds what I'm looking for in my running game, so I'm very happy to bring Darren McFadden aboard. And I did bring on Sebastian Janikowski as my new kicker to replace Phil Dawson, who retired.
Fanboy, you are so in the closet. Go ahead.
I'll let you keep thinking that, Josh. But you guys have had some fun players.
You're trying to pull Nnamdi Asomugha out of retirement too? What's the deal around here?
Well, I actually had him in last year's game when he was still on the Niners roster. But you came out with Ben Tate. That was a pretty good signing.
Yeah,
there were some, aside from the big ones that got really overpaid contracts, I think there were some good under-the-radar signings. We talked about Jermaine Gresham going to Buffalo. If I didn't have Vernon Davis, I would have been looking at Jermaine Gresham. I think that's a pretty good signing. So I think that'll be a strong factor for Justin going forward in Buffalo. So yeah, I think some teams won out pretty good in free agency this year. It'll be interesting to see how these teams shape up going forward with the new additions. I always really enjoy free agency in franchise mode. It's probably my favorite part of the whole franchise mode is bidding on your players and getting to bring in players to fit your scheme and finally realize your offensive and defensive philosophies with your guys.
Well, fantastic. Well, good deal, Alan. Well, glad you got your guy. I'll be curious to see what you do with Darren McFadden. You're always a pretty good runner of the football with Frank Gore. Darren McFadden.
Not this past year.
Well, there you go. But Darren McFadden adds a different dynamic, something that you haven't had other than maybe like a Kendall Hunter. But we'll look forward. Or what was the guy, LaMichael James?
Who I still got. I was able to bring him back in last year's free agency draft, thankfully.
There you go. All right. Well, listen, Alan, we are out of time. We are 10 minutes to midnight. So much still left that we wanted to cover, but thankfully we aren't going to be able to get to it because we had so much league participation tonight, which is a great problem to have. So being that we're going to do a Saturday show, let's go ahead and save some of the things that we were going to go over tonight. We'll go ahead and save those for Saturday. We're gonna have our predictions for season 2 as far as division winners goes, and we're also going to cover some of the early matchups, some of the week 1, 2, and 3 matchups. We'll go ahead and save that for Saturday's show. Before we wrap, though, I do want to throw out some trade rumors. Early talks were that the Rams were in play for Arian Foster of the Houston Texans. But breaking news, Alan, he is going to be a Buffalo Bill. Justin Tsai mentions his acquisition of Ahmad Bradshaw and then tags it with Arian freaking Foster. This guy already has a phenomenal passing game. Hand him one of the better Madden running backs. Could spell trouble for the rest of the league. Josh Sitton, monster offensive lineman, in talks with somebody. Maybe a silver and black team. I don't know. Trying. Kendall Hunter. I know he's out on the block, and I know there's been a little bit of talks there. Darnell Dockett. Just about a done deal. Goes to the Steelers. I mentioned the pass rush earlier already. They've already have Nick Fairley anchoring down that line. Add in another big-time pass rusher like Darnell Dockett. Steelers could be something to deal with when it comes to the defensive line of scrimmage. And then, of course, Matthew Stafford. I don't understand Ostie's wanting to jettison Matt Stafford. If it wasn't for the fact that I had Derek Carr, I would definitely make a play for Matt Stafford. You can't. There's no substitution for 99 throw power and high 80s and accuracies. What else do you want? Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't know what else you want there. So big surprise there, but he's definitely maybe going to go somewhere. I can't remember if he's still a captain or not, so we may not see him move this year, but certainly going into season 3, he will be gone. Alan, thank you for being the fixins tonight. Thanks for being the stuffing and the dressing and the cranberry sauce and the cooked down green beans and the sweet potato casserole tonight on WestOne Radio. Alan, I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving tomorrow with the family, and thanks for again helming the ship here with me for another episode of WestOne Radio, and we will see you again next Saturday. Got anything before we let you go and shut this thing down?
Well, I'd just like to say all the same to you and your family tomorrow. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope everyone in the league has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Glad to be a part of the show. If anyone is interested in watching some late night football, I do believe that I'm about to kick off with the Saints after the show, so I'll be broadcasting that on my Twitch feed, which is twitch.tv/execution99, same as my Xbox tag. So last I heard is that Browning and myself are ready to go after the show, so hopefully we can kick that off and we can have some late night West One Week 1 football. So happy Thanksgiving to all. Good luck to everyone in Season 2 going forward. I'm looking forward to another good year with a good group of guys. So let's go out and have some fun this year.
Good deal. Excellent. Well, that will be a game I'll certainly tune into that while I'm playing Shadow of Mordor while I'm out there taking out the Uruk-hai. Anyways,
well, at least we've gotten you off of Peggle.
Yeah, now that there's other games out, that my Peggle 2 league is in kind of a downtime. It's a slow time for Peggle. But anyways, thanks again for everybody that participated tonight. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. I see a lot of the guys down on the screen that have been listening all along. Thank you for your participation on Facebook. Guys, use the websites, use Pro Boards, use Madden Daddy. It will enhance your West One experience, I promise. For those of us sometimes that are locked in front of a computer throughout the day, through our work day, man, I'm telling you, it's fun to log into Daddy Leagues on your lunch break or anytime you get a chance, any break that you get and check that stuff out. It's pretty fun, man. It's pretty fun. Especially if you're a numbers guy, if you're a stats guy, if you're an attributes guy, nothing substitutes that. So I would definitely encourage you guys to use those websites. So thanks for everybody that called in tonight. Justin, K-Matt, Commissioner Salty, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on Saturday on another episode of West One Radio. Have a good night.